Florida Senator Rick Scott is lying once again to you about who actually wants to cut Medicare. Take a look.
Well, they're not going to be honest with the American public. I mean, they like all they like all the spending. And by the way, there's plenty of money that plenty of people make money off of government. When we sell the bonds, Wall Street makes a lot of money. I mean, look at what's happened as we've run up this debt over the last, especially over the last 20 years. Guess what? The rich have gotten richer, right? Wall Street's done really well. The DC bureaucrats are doing really well. That's who's making money off this, and that's who's pushing this. So let's think about the American public that is just suffering every day.
That's a flip of what the rhetoric isn't it?
Oh,
like Democrats are looking across the aisle at you as Republicans and saying, we are the ones who care about the middle class and seniors. But now what we're seeing is that's not actually true.
They cut Medicare. I mean, Harris, they cut Medicare. Just what, 4 months ago? They cut $280 billion out of Medicare, and they want to say, we want to cut it? No, I'm going to fight like hell to make sure we preserve Medicare and Social Security, because we can, we should, we owe it to our seniors, but we got to do it by living within our means.
That's the tell right there. Oh, we got to live within our means, which means cuts. But let me just go back to point out how just the fucking balls on this guy to sell himself. I was like, oh, I'm a protector of I care about economic populism. I am such an economic populist. I can't believe rich people at Wall Street would do so well. You don't care about average people. You don't give a damn. In fact, his previous plan, his plan for America or whatever, would actually have raised taxes on poor people, literally, until he removed that section. By the way, because not even Mitch McConnell was like, I may be incredibly evil, but I'm not a complete dumbass. That's a really, really stupid plan. I actually want to win elections, and then we rob the people. So, but anyway, going back to the $280 billion, right? They cut Medicare. They cut $280 billion out of Medicare. Complete lie. He's been doing this same lie for months. Let's break it down, because there is a $280 billion-ish savings. And I actually don't mean it in the Republican way of saying savings, as in, oh, we're going to save it by cutting benefits, raising the retirement age in the case of Social Security, and we're going to, do all that stuff, these tricky moves that actually end up hurting you. No, there's an actual savings, and I'll explain how. Now, he says, again, the Democrats cut around $280 billion out of Medicare. In reality, what the Democrats did is they allowed Medicare to negotiate certain drugs with pharmaceutical companies, and so to negotiate the prices. That was a provision of the Inflation Reduction Act. Now, look, I've criticized that in pointing out that it is incredibly limited. There's only a few drugs that are able to be negotiated. That said, it is a change, and it's a positive change, because before, Medicare wasn't allowed to negotiate with pharmaceutical companies for any of the drugs. So, yes, while it's limited, it's still a positive change, but it's extremely limited. So, that said, even the small amount of drugs that Medicare is now allowed to negotiate drug prices on, it will save somewhere between $237 to $288 billion. Not only that, but the effect of allowing Medicare to negotiate drug prices for pharmaceutical companies will also lower drug prices for every single person. That's why we need to do it to all drugs. Could you imagine if the Democrats had the balls to allow Medicare, if they could rein in Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, to allow Medicare to negotiate for all of prescription drugs? How much money the government and the average American would save as a result. Again, there is a reason that we pay that we are the only country in the world that pays as much as we do for prescription drugs because we allow it to happen. We allow pharmaceutical companies to rip us off. The greed. But let's get to the point here. The $280 billion that Rick Scott says, oh, it's a cut to Medicare. No, it's actual savings. Literally, the government saves money and still allows for the same amount of care. There is no benefit reduction here at all. The government's just paying less to pharmaceutical companies for drugs. That's a flat out lie what he's talking about. Why would Rick Scott lie about this? Well, look, liars be lying. And he has long been a liar. Okay. That said, the reason that he's doing this today about this specific lie, pushing this lie, is because he knows the vast majority of Americans love Medicare. Well, of course. And the vast majority of Americans support Medicare being able to negotiate prescription drug prices. He also believes that his base is stupid. Maybe right about some of them. He knows that there's a good percentage of them that don't care about the facts. Or are never able to hear the facts because of their news sources or because of the politicians that end up lying to them all the time, like Rick Scott. And again, their media lying about it because it's on Fox News. And so here you have this narrative. Oh my God, did you know the Democrats cut Medicare? No, they didn't. Now, that said, it's not as if Democrats haven't tried to cut Medicare and Social Security. And that's the reality here. Members of both parties are willing to cut it. Yes, it's true. Joe Manchin, right now, you as a Democrat, saying Biden should work with Republicans to do a deal which would cut Medicare and Social Security. It would raise the retirement age, pay out less in benefits. Again, when you raise the retirement age, you are taking money away from the people who put that money in. That is their benefits. That is their money that Joe Manchin is saying we should get rid of. And not only that, but don't forget that during the 2014 fiscal cliff negotiation, President Obama had endorsed and pushed a grand bargain with Republicans that, yes, cut Social Security. There is the Simpson-Bowles Commission that said their final results, we should cut Medicare and Social Security. Why? They don't add a penny to the deficit. Not a dime. Nothing. Doesn't matter. In their, efforts to privatize and the Democrats to, compromise, they said, okay, we'll cut Social Security. Can't wait. It's going to help our friends on Wall Street. That said, Rick Scott's lie is so outrageous, even conservative organizations are calling it out. In fact, here's one of them. This is the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget. This is a group created by Pete Peterson, right? Who can't wait to gut the government. Okay, we believe in debt reduction. Yes, we need to cut everything so we can get rid of the debt. Yes, and the deficits. Well, here's what they said. Quote, in reality, the bill's prescription drug savings would save the federal government nearly $300 billion through 2031 without cutting benefits. Lowering Medicare costs is not the same as reducing benefits. Quite the opposite. Many measures to reduce costs for the government would reduce costs for the individuals as well. After combining the drug cost savings with the bill's other healthcare provisions, Medicare beneficiaries would see decreases in premiums and savings, including through a $2,000 annual cap of out-of-pocket costs. Those are facts. Right there. Right there. Again, I don't agree generally with the committee and their endorsements of policy positions, but they're just stating facts right there. Literal facts. Steve Ellis, president of Taxpayers for Common Sense, another group that seeks to lower deficits, told PolitiFact back in August that claims of Medicare cuts from this provision are just, in their words, problematic, but they're wrong. They're a lie. Quote, those are savings resulting mostly from the government negotiating prescription drug prices and limiting drug price increases to inflation. So rather than taking money out of Medicare, it is reducing Medicare costs. Well, there you go. Again, Committee for Responsible Federal Budget and Taxpayers for Common Sense are correct. And Rick Scott is a liar. A complete and utter liar and a fraud. Speaking of fraud, of course, well, Rick Scott, last guy who should be talking about fraud or should be talking about, Medicare even. In fact, when he was the CEO of Columbia HCA, that company was fined $1.7 billion for, wait for it, Medicare fraud. He is a fraudster. 100%. That is the largest Medicare fraud in U.S. history. No one should be listening to this guy. Furthermore, again, Rick Scott's plan for taxes is to say, let's just cut taxes for the rich, and that's it. Oh, that's your economic plan. Oh, so what he's doing is he's pushing the old, these tax cuts, they're going to pay for themselves. Really? Did that happen during the Trump tax cuts? No. Did that happen during the Bush tax cuts? No. Did that happen during the Reagan tax cuts? No, it didn't. It did nothing. But again, save rich people tons of money and drive up gigantic amounts of debt. That's what happens. Tax cuts do not pay for themselves. It's just complete and utter fantasy. So again, he's the last person to talk about debts and deficits. He is a liar, a crook, and a thief.